Welcome to TMF Debates Part 2 on should you assimilate when you move to the USA? If you're just joining us for this debate, go ahead and click or tap the iCard right now to watch Part 1 or just after this video for a little bit more context. Now tonight we have Pro, who's adamant that one should completely become part of their new culture. And then that leaves Anti, who stands for acculturation rather than assimilation. For this TMF middle ground, we want to do something a little bit different and take that three crossroads method and just get rid of it and talk about this debate in a little bit more of a general sense. If at any point you want to join the debate with me, go ahead and comment in the comment section down below. Now, let's get into it. For starters, I guess I really need to address the elephant in the room of why I would even throw out our standard format. One, it's because I kind of want to have the freedom to do that in future episodes, so expect it down the line. And two, this debate really does border on racism. Like, a lot of racism. And I feel like if I were to break down it into three major crossroads, almost every single one of those would have a racist undertone. Trust me, I've tried multiple times and kept coming up with that racist undertone. Almost is because a lot of the people on Anti insist that those on the Pro are indeed racist. I don't really want to portray Pro as a racist. If we start to get into the racism, I feel like we'll just get distracted, and that will not aid us in finding a middle ground in this debate. So with that in mind, we're not going to focus on racism as much as possible. It's gonna come up. Now, let's get into it. Let's start to break down how we're going to get to the middle ground. Wait, actually, we can't even make any progress towards there if Anti is gonna keep screaming at Pro that they're a racist. So to help move the debate forward, I want to shed some light on the possibility of Pro not being a racist. And by doing this, we'll have to explore the confusion of assimilation when it comes to American perceptions. Often when you talk to Americans about what it means to be an American, you'll get back terms such as, "We are a melting pot," or "We have no national identity set in stone." And seldom you'll actually hear people say, "We don't have a national religion, we have freedom of religion." Unfortunately, it's very often that Pro will agree with these statements within their principles, but within action, not so much. Because to Pro, an American is a white English-speaking Christian. Thus, it means that Pro is often not going to assume that a non-white person is an American, despite the fact that they may have been raised here and know no other home. This racial rejection by Pro honestly may never be spoken, but it's subconscious. We addressed why this is the case in our Is It Okay to Be White video when we used marketing bias examples and talked about the mere exposure effect. If you want to be caught up on that, just go ahead and click or tap the iCard right now. Back on topic, I want to talk about how people really don't understand what assimilation consists of. Far too often do Americans think that assimilation means elimination. Those who side with the Pro often just insist that the migrants have to get rid of everything that they brought with them. Assimilation rarely ever works this way, and it can't work this way if America is to remain a melting pot, which is what it's supposed to be. Let's look at what exactly Pro wants them to surrender. Often, Pro is against the idea that migrants should be speaking anything besides English in public. Now, this isn't technically racist because speaking English does actually unify our country and helps everyone know the laws, and thus their rights. The point when this becomes like super racist though, is when Pro starts to freak out and lash out at anyone speaking any language beyond English outside in public. When the larger society tells you that an American is a white Christian English speaker and you're only the latter two, you can feel pretty helpless in the way of assimilating because you can't change your skin tone and you may not want to actually change your religion. And it should be no surprise that migrants seek out each other and actually live within the same neighborhoods, communities, and try to live together because it gives them a sense of belonging in this country, these immigrants are no less American than any white person. And so for pro to stay in this debate, they're going to have to make the conscious decision to reject their opinion on what it means to be an American. A white American is not an accurate representation of an American, despite the fact that, yes, on the worldwide scale, if you were to ask somebody to draw an American, they would probably draw a white person. But that doesn't mean that Americans are only white. Again, we're supposed to be a melting pot, and we can't be a melting pot if we insist that people fully assimilate. This is a point that anti-continuously will win on when they preach acculturation over assimilation. At this point, I want to interject my TMF warning, which for this open-ended debate, we're going to change up just a little bit. And I just want to state that for anti to stay in this debate, they're going to have to learn to be okay with the fact that not everybody is going to have the level of empathy they expect them to. I found in researching this episode that most people on the anti would just get straight up furious when they heard pro reject a migrant for a variety of reasons, not just the racist ones. This is a concern to me and why I wanted to do a TMF warning on this, because again, as we started this, if anti can't stop just screaming at pro that they're racist, there's no middle ground here. Again, we have to move past this, folks. Now I know I'm going to be in bad favor with some people for saying this, but it's the truth. We as humans do not have as much control over our minds and our emotions as we would like to believe. Pro very well could just be subconsciously afraid of immigrants because they don't know who they are. They haven't experienced somebody that doesn't look like that, sound like that, or they've been from there. Humans are naturally afraid of the unknown, and anti cannot just push against this reality without just being hit by a brick wall and not really know how to get past this. Anti may want to rush in with education and empathy courses, all of the above, but that is an error because they're not going to be able to reach pro. Really the only thing pro is going to be able to do, and if they want to come to a middle ground in this debate, they're going to have to be exposed to a minority. And thankfully, America is a melting pot, so we don't even have to go to migrants at this point. We can just go around the country, and I promise you, there are plenty of non-white, non-English speaking, non-Christian Americans out there that will, just through their existence, will challenge pro's definition. The win-win middle ground here is complicated because pro and anti truly do disagree with what we should do with the immigrants after they move here. Pro's version of assimilation is we should take all of America and shove it into a red, white, and blue little patriotic box. While some may agree that this is the best approach to making somebody an American, anti's main argument against pro is not that acculturation and assimilation are inherently bad, but we really need to broaden our view of the American experience. Those on the anti sometimes even suggest that we should redefine America away from the melting pot and start talking about it more as a salad, where everything's like blended up, but each ingredient is unique in their own right. They both agree that America is a melting pot, but pro would rather that be represented as a white fondue, and anti wants that gumbo or the aforementioned salad. There isn't immediately apparent good middle ground here because of how opposed both these sides appear, and it frustrates me to tell you there is no win-win, and that's only the case because it really depends on how racist pro is. See? Told you we'd come back to it, because it really does, in all honesty, come down to how racist pro is. If they're really a racist, you are not going to be able to convince them in this debate without that extended exposure to different people so they have the chance to humanize them. To get to a middle ground, we have to just ignore the racists, and if we do that, there is a win-win. Taking what is left of pro and anti and bringing it into a middle ground will require both sides to concede that the definition of an American is abstract. And while we may currently have an English-speaking white majority, studies in science are suggesting that shortly we're going to be into a minority majority for the foreseeable future. Knowing this, pro wins in the respect that they are already grounded in the norms of America can help assist the assimilation they insist people need to undertake to become an American. Anti wins in the respect that we've seen way more than evidence than we need to understand that people's personal cultural identities are not something they're just going to throw away. And thankfully, the larger society is starting to accept them more. If both sides can reach this middle ground, I truly believe that pro and anti can coexist in American public regardless of the language being spoken. Now that we've got our two sides to a middle ground, I want to thank you for watching up until this point, and I really hope that you feel more ready the next time you have to debate a pro or an anti on the debate of should you assimilate when you move to the USA. Please comment your feelings down below. Thank you again for watching, and now let's wrap this episode up. Hit that notification bell to make sure you're back here in 2 weeks for our new debate on should you be politically active. And if you're watching this after the initial 2 weeks, just go ahead and click or tap right there, watch it now. And a huge, massive thank you to my Patreon members for bringing safe debates to you and everyone you disagree with. As always, this has been TMF. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the time in whatever zone you find yourself. Also, seriously, go get some tacos.